But cats live alongside us. They share our homes, our environments, and many of the same exposures, whether that's pollutants, diet, or lifestyle factors. And because of that, the cancers they develop may actually be more representative of what happens in real life.
Welcome to The Consult Room, the podcast where we explore the evolving world of modern pet care. I'm Dr Paul Manktelow, a UK veterinary surgeon with a deep passion for pet health and welfare. In each episode, I'll be exploring key issues, challenging perspectives, and offering expert insight and practical advice. Because ultimately, my mission is to improve the lives of pets and the people who love them.
Today, I want to talk about a piece of research that on the surface sounds quite surprising, but actually opens up a really interesting conversation about how we understand cancer. Because recent studies have found that cats and humans share some of the same cancer-driving genetic mutations, including changes in a gene called TP53. Now, that might sound quite technical, but stick with me, because what this really raises is a much bigger question. Could studying cancer in cats actually help us better understand cancer in people? And what does that mean for both human medicine and veterinary care? As always, I'm going to break this down in a way that's clear and easy to understand and take a balanced view, looking at what this research shows, what it could mean, and where we need to be cautious. Now, at the heart of this research is a gene called TP53. Now, you'll sometimes hear this described as the guardian of the genome, and that's because it plays a really important role in protecting the body from cancer. Now, in simple terms, TP53 helps to control how cells grow and divide. It can repair damaged DNA, and if a cell becomes too abnormal, it can trigger that cell to die before it causes harm. So it's kind of a key defense mechanism. But when TP53 is mutated, like when something goes wrong with that gene, those protective mechanisms can fail. Cells can start to grow uncontrollably, and that's one of the fundamental ways that cancer develops. Now, what this research has shown is that cats can develop cancers that involve similar mutations in this gene, and that those cancers can behave in ways that are comparable to what we see in humans. So why are scientists interested in cats specifically? Well, one of the key reasons is that cats develop cancer naturally. Now, in a lot of traditional research, disease is studied in laboratory models where conditions are controlled or even artificially created. But cats live alongside us. They share our homes, our environments, and many of the same exposures, whether that's pollutants, diet, or lifestyle factors. And because of that, the cancers they develop may actually be more representative of what happens in real life. There are also similarities in how certain cancers behave, how they grow, how they spread, and how they respond to treatment. And that makes them potentially valuable in a field known as comparative oncology. Now, comparative oncology is essentially the study of cancer across species. Now, instead of looking at human medicine and veterinary medicine separately, it recognizes that there are shared biological processes and that we can learn from both. Rather than asking, how do we treat cancer in humans, or how do we treat cancer in animals, in isolation, it asks a broader question. What can we learn about cancer by studying it across species? And in theory, that could benefit both. Insights gained from veterinary patients could inform human medicine, and advances in human oncology could also improve care for animals. So what are the potential implications of this kind of research? Now, in theory, identifying shared genetic mutations could help us better understand how cancers develop in the first place. It could help identify new targets for treatment, and it could support earlier diagnosis by recognizing patterns or genetic markers. And it could potentially speed up research, because instead of relying purely on laboratory models, scientists can study naturally occurring disease. There is also a broader idea here that medicine doesn't need to sit in silos, that human and veterinary medicine can inform each other in a much more integrated way. That said, it's important not to overstate what this means. Now, sharing a mutation, even one as important as TP53, doesn't mean that cancer in cats and humans is identical. There are still significant differences between species. differences in physiology, immune systems, lifespan, and how disease progress. So while these similarities are scientifically interesting, they don't automatically translate into new treatments. Now, this kind of research is about improving understanding, and that is a crucial step. But it's still quite early in terms of real world clinical impact. And there's also an ethical dimension to this. One of the key differences here is that this research is based on naturally occurring disease. Now, we're not talking about deliberately inducing cancer in animals. We're talking about studying disease that has developed naturally in pets. And now that's an important distinction, but it still raises questions around how data is used, how cases are selected, and how we balance scientific progress with animal welfare. It also raises questions about communication, because when we talk about animals contributing to advances in human medicine, we need to be very clear about what that actually means and avoid overstating the benefits. Now, from my perspective, I think this is a really interesting and potentially valuable area of research. The idea that we can learn more about disease by looking across species makes a lot of sense. And as a vet, I think there's something quite powerful in recognizing that the conditions we see in animals are not entirely separate from those we see in people. But I also think it's important to stay grounded. This isn't a breakthrough in the sense of a new treatment or a cure. It's an insight. It's a piece of the puzzle. And like a lot of scientific research, its real value will come over time as it's built on, tested, and translated into something practical. More broadly, this research reflects a shift in how we think about health. There's an increasing recognition that human health, animal health, and environmental health are all connected, often referred to as a One Health approach. And in that context, this kind of research fits into a much bigger movement, one where we stop thinking in silos and we start looking at health in a more integrated and holistic way. So what does this actually mean for you as a pet guardian, or even somebody just listens to this out of interest? Well, in the short term, probably not very much. This isn't going to change how we diagnose or treat cancer tomorrow. But what it does do is add to our understanding of a very, very complex disease. And it highlights the role that animals, particularly those living alongside us, can play in helping us understand that disease better. Now, it's a really fascinating area of research, but it's one that needs to be interpreted carefully, communicated clearly, and developed responsibly. Because, as with all science, the potential is there, but so is the need for balance. And that's where the real conversation lies.
Thank you for listening to this episode. You'll find all the relevant links to this conversation in the show notes. If you enjoyed it, please follow us and leave a review. It really helps other people discover the podcast. For more insights on topics like this, you can connect with me on social media at Dr Paul the Vet, or check out my website, theconsultroom.co.uk.